In this video, we're going through how you shoot B-roll, better B-roll, good looking B-roll. And I'm not talking about just 120 frames per second slow motion, buttery, smooth, slow-mo. There's a lot more to B-roll than just slow motion. And there's a lot more to B-roll than just sexy footage. So in this video, we're gonna go through kind of what you should think about when you're approaching the B-roll that you're about to shoot. And you really gotta think through what's the purpose of your B-roll. All right, guys, let's get into it. So B-roll, it's the craze. Everyone's talking about awesome B-roll. Now, one thing, for those of you who've been on this channel for a while, I finally have AC in my studio. I'm sitting here with the AC on, you don't hear it. It's been almost 4 years of creating content and I've never had a space that I've had AC in. This is like a game changer. So B-roll, let's talk about B-roll. Now, I'm sure there's some of you out there who are like, well, what is B-roll in the first place? What's A-roll versus B-roll, and is there a C-roll? Well, the good news is I've actually already shot another video that's all about what is B-roll. And so if you go down in the description, I'll put a link to that right there down below. Go check it. Go watch that video in its entirety and then come back here because this video is gonna jump off from where that video left off. Once you understand B-roll, then we can start talking about how you can craft better B-roll for your videos. So I've got 5 things that we're gonna go through that's gonna help you get better B-roll. And it's not just slow motion, gimbal work, anything like that. Like there's obviously cool ways to capture the B-roll, but the first thing you have to really think about is story. And yeah, I understand not everyone's doing a narrative project. Not everyone's going and telling this grandiose story. Like some of you are creating tutorials like this, and that is a story. So every project has a story, and every project should have some sort of story behind what it is that you're creating. Whether it is just a tutorial about how to plant plants in your garden, or you are going on a mountain expedition and you're gonna take people to the summit. Stories come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. So the first thing when it comes to B-roll is that you wanna make sure that your B-roll follows your story. You don't wanna get a bunch of extraneous B-roll that's not gonna help the initial thing of what you're creating. So let's break this down into 2 different perspectives. First, let's talk about a narrative. So if you have a narrative project, a documentary, a vlog. Are you gonna be a little vlogger? Tell me more. What's your channel gonna be about?
Milk.
Milk? Is it gonna be about milk? Some sort of story-driven piece, then you're gonna wanna capture B-roll that's gonna help tell that story. So for example, I went up to Canada, I shot a film about climbing. I climbed Mount Athabasca, and the A-roll was a mix of me on camera talking about the adventure, the different people that I was climbing with, and then also some voiceover. That's kind of what I laid down as my A-roll. Now the B-roll is what you put over that to help add more to the story. So when I was climbing, I was thinking, okay, what do I need to capture? I need to capture, shots of the climbers in the distance. I need to capture shots of the climbers close up. I need to capture shots of the base camp. I need to capture shots of the morning when we started. I need to capture the sunrise. I need to capture the ice climbing that we did. Like there's so many different story beats in that film, and I wanted to make sure that I had B-roll for each of those sections so that when I came back to the edit bay, when I'm sitting here working on my film, I know that there's always footage that I can go to be able to tell the story. So say I'm doing a section where I'm talking about the approach and it's nighttime. Well, I need to be able to have that footage that shows exactly what I'm talking about and helps tell that story. Now let's put this in the perspective of a tutorial. Now, one of the last videos that I did on my channel was about the Zcam E2. And when I'm talking about the camera, I'm bringing up different aspects of what is on that camera or how you use it. So I might talk about the monitor. And so I'm gonna shoot B-roll of that monitor that I'm using. Then I'm also talking about the ports on the back of the camera. Well, I'm gonna shoot different perspectives of the ports on the camera. Now, beyond the specific things that I talk about, I also just wanna capture some general B-roll shots of the camera because there are lots of situations in that video where I need some extra B-roll. And then on top of that, because it was a camera review, I also needed to show B-roll of what the camera could shoot. So it was kind of like B-roll on B-roll, kind of some meta B-roll going on there. But essentially, I'm getting all the pieces to help tell the story, and then my A-roll was me here in my office talking about the camera, and then every time I'm talking about the features or I'm talking about what I'm getting with the camera, I can actually show that rather than just sit here and talk about it. Now, the second thing that you need to do is shoot in sequences. And what I mean by this is shoot so there is a beginning, middle, and end. And this could be as simple as just a few shots, but you need to shoot in terms of like What is the next thing that's going to progress the story forward? You're always thinking stories, so you want to shoot in a sequence. So for example, here's a few shots that I did of my buddy while we were out hiking, and instead of just getting the same shot over and over, I shot a sequence. I started with some different elements of the trail, then I moved into some different shots of him hiking up the trail. I got some close-ups of him, and then the final reveal was the cityscape in the distance. And so that was a sequence. There was a progression, there was a start, there was a journey, and then there was an ending point. And so if you apply this to the B-roll that you're shooting, there's always going to be a sequence of things that you need to shoot. Even if you're doing like a tutorial or a review, there's going to be a sequence of elements that you need to shoot that's going to help tell the story. So always be thinking through sequence. Think of where you need to start and where you need to take that viewer and where you want to leave them. And when you think through this process, you're going to find a sequence of shots that's going to make the most sense to tell your story of B-roll. Now, number 3 is a combination of 3 different elements. It's perspective, shot size, and composition. Not just super slow motion of the same thing over and over. You want to think through these 3 elements of filmmaking. So shot size, extreme wides, wide, medium, close-up, extreme close-up. How are you going to capture this specific shot of B-roll? Is that moment best captured in an extreme wide where you can see all the surroundings, or do you really need to zero in on one specific element? So one exercise that I have for you that I hope you go and try after this video is play around with shot size. Don't think about anything else, but really just take one subject, say it's a water bottle, take it outside and shoot an extreme wide, then shoot a wide shot of it, then shoot a medium shot, then shoot a close-up, then shoot details, extreme close-ups, and then go in your edit and play around with those different shots. Maybe do a quick little voiceover talking about your water bottle and then play around with the different perspectives. You don't have to start extremely wide and then zoom in. You could actually start super close and then maybe you work your way out to the extreme wide. That's called a reveal. So there's different ways that you're going to use the different shot sizes to really bring someone's focus onto the subject or bring them wider into what's in the surrounding. Now, when it comes to perspective, don't always shoot at eye level. So bring your camera down low to take it up high. Maybe it's way up there in the corner. Maybe it's way off in the distance on the mountain, or maybe it's, down in the lake looking out. Could be in a bag of potato chips looking at you. There are so many different ways that you can change the perspective. And then last is composition. You don't always need everything dead center of the frame. That's something that happens on YouTube a lot is we just get stuck in this idea of dead center because it's just put it right there. We're vlogging, we just need it dead center. Put stuff off to the side. Change your composition. Maybe that shot would look better if your subject is far in the left side of frame and you have this huge expansive landscape in the right side of the frame. Think about balance, think about symmetry. Just one main composition that everyone likes to use is the rule of thirds. You put your subject in 1/3 of the frame. Shooting in that way creates some balance in your frame and it's pleasing to the viewer. But that's only one composition that you could use. There is so many different compositions, and that's gonna have to be another video that I make on this channel, which is going through different composition ideas, because when you start playing around with compositions, perspectives, and shot sizes, the world just explodes with the potential for what you can shoot with B-roll, because there are so many possibilities out there, and you can create some really cool looking footage once you start applying these different elements. Now, number 4 when it comes to shooting B-roll is experiment. So just what I was saying in the last tip is go through and play with all of these different elements. Don't always shoot the exact same dead center, same close-up shot, same medium shot for everything. Experiment, play around, put cameras way off in the distance, put them right there in front of you, put them right up on your subject, put them, above your subject, maybe below your subject. Try everything and play around with it. The only way that you're gonna get good at shooting B-roll is to shoot B-roll and experiment and play with it. And my 5th tip for you is to just watch other creators or filmmakers or anyone who's taking photos or videos, because there are so many awesome creators out there and all of us have a different approach to the way that we shoot our content. So I'm not saying go and just steal someone's ideas, but watch other creators, see how they frame up their shots, see how it makes you feel, and think through all the elements that I've talked about in this video. What is the story that they're trying to tell? How did they use their perspectives, their shot sizes, their composition to tell that story? How was the B-roll helping with the A-roll? Was the B-roll just a visual explanation of what the A-roll was talking about? Or is the B-roll adding more to the story? So start looking at that. And I highly suggest when you're watching content, watch it on your laptop, watch it on your phone, something where you can take photos of the different shots that you really like. So if you're watching a film and you love the way the composition looks, well, take a quick snapshot, put it in a folder of inspiration, and start collecting images. Because the more that you collect these images, you're gonna start realizing what kind of shots you like and what really piques your interest for B-roll. And then those images are gonna start showing up in your content because you'll start remembering those moments that you like. And then you'll start playing around with how do you create that with the content that you're creating. And as you do that, you're gonna develop your skills at shooting B-roll so that you become a better cinematographer and creator. I have a question for you. What is your favorite composition? Think through all the movies that you watched, all the YouTubers that you watched, all the content out there. What's your favorite composition? What's something that when you see it, you're just like, that looks awesome. Like, that is breathtaking. I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments. Let me know what your favorite composition is. And if you don't have one, I'd love to hear from you guys about your thoughts around perspective, composition, and shot size. And make sure that you check out this video right here. It goes into how you shoot cinematic sequences, so it goes much more into detail about this whole idea of shooting sequences of B-roll. All right, guys, I'll see you over there.